Good afternoon. My name is Nikki Antonovich. I work for the Sacramento County Office of Education. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the Accessing Summative Assessment Results in the California Educator Reporting System, or CERS, Module 2, where we will cover the Smarter Balanced English Language Arts, or ELA, Mathematics, California Science Test, or CAST, and the California Alternate Assessments, or CAAs, for ELA, Mathematics, and Science. This training is brought to you by the California Department of Education and is designed for all current and potential CERS users. All right, you are going to spend the rest of our time together with our very knowledgeable and wonderful presenters. Today we have Stephanie Fortunato from the Los Angeles County Office of Education, Alicia Sanborn from the Washington Unified School District, and Joe Valero from the Office of the Fresno County Superintendent of Schools. And with that, I'm going to hand you over to your trainers.
All right, thank you, Nikki. All right, let's talk about our agenda. Today, our agenda aligns with the success criteria for this training. So let's take a look at things we'll be able to do at the end of each section. You will be able to access the scale score ranges for the summative assessments and know where to find them, understand how the results are structured for Smarter Balanced Summative Assessment for ELA and Mathematics, the CAST, and the CAAs. Access summative assessment results in CERS, list the different ways summative assessment data is broken down for each assessment, locate CERS resources, and finally, you'll get answers to your questions. We know you probably want to take what you've learned today and explore your 23-24 results in CERS. So let's talk about when the results will be available. So results from the 23-24 Smarter Balanced Summative Assessments for ELA and Math are expected to be available in CERS beginning in late May. Guess what? It's late May. So you probably noticed that there are some scores already inside of CERS. Results from the 23-24 CAST are also expected to be available in CERS beginning in late May. Once again, we're in late May, they're in there. Results for the California Alternate Assessments are expected to be available in CERS beginning in early September. Please note that results for the California Alternate Assessments will be available later than other assessments due to post-equating, which is the process of calculating scores once the year's testing is completed. The exact availability of results for each assessment depends on reaching certain testing volume thresholds. Over the coming months, the California Department of Education will provide further details about the various availability dates. So let's talk about where we've been. Before we get started, we want to remind everyone about where we've been and where we're going with the CERS training series. Last summer and fall, we offered 2 training sessions held multiple times from July through November 2023. These were the Introduction to CERS for teachers and the Introduction to CERS for test coordinators and site administrators or district administrators. These trainings covered a CERS overview, a section on how to access summative data, a section on how to access interim data, and the resources available to support CERS. If you missed the introductory training, the recordings and materials of the 2 sessions are available on the asynchronous training opportunities web pages of the CAASPP and ELPAC websites. We also want to note that if you have checked out the new combined website, you will see the materials on the upcoming and on-demand trainings webpage. Earlier this year, we offered, for the first time, an intermediate CERS training called CERS Beyond the Basics. Again, we held 2, one for teachers and one for test coordinators and administrators. These trainings went deeper into CERS features for intermediate and advanced users. In your resource guide is the link to the past training opportunities where you can access the archived materials. Now looking forward, we're excited about where we're going with the upcoming CERS training sessions focused on accessing the summative results. Last week, we held Module 1, where we looked at the summative assessment scores for ELPAC, the alternate ELPAC, and the California Spanish Assessment, or CSA. Today, we are presenting Module 2, where we will focus on scores from the Smarter Balanced ELA and Mathematics, the CAST, and the California Alternate Assessments, or CAAs for ELA, Mathematics, and Science. Let's talk about where we might find state assessment data. Most of the data from the assessments lives in two sites, CERS and the test results for California Assessment's website. Let's talk about what's in CERS first. CERS requires a logon for users to be able to access score data. As covered in the introduction to CERS trainings, some setup is required for educators to access the results in CERS, and student-level data is not public, hence the logon. CERS houses all summative and interim data. While we can view aggregate level data in CERS, we also have the ability to view the data down to the student level. Once again, it's that logon that gets us in to see student level data. CERS also has data that is specific to each assessment. For example, we can view writing trait scores for the ELA summative assessment. New this year, we will get the composite claim level data for individual students in CERS for the Smarter Balance summative for ELA and math. And for science, we get domain level information in CERS. We also get Lexile and quantile measures for ELA and math. The other site is the test results for California Assessment's website. The test results for California Assessment's website is a public site that does not require a logon. It houses aggregate data for summative assessments. New this year, data for composite claims for Smarter Balanced ELA and mathematics, which will be available for student groups of 11 or more. Data for individual claims may still be viewed for groups of 30 or more students for ELA and math. Data may also be viewed at the domain level for the CAASPP. Finally, you can compare statewide data for your county, district, school, or student group, or you can use the performance trend reports to view and compare student achievement over time. As mentioned in the previous slide, CERS houses detailed and actionable data to help educators reflect on teaching and plan for the new school year. How exciting is this month going to be? Teachers and other educators appreciate knowing how their students performed on the summative assessments before going out for summer break. And many also use that time to plan for the following year. Imagine all educators having the ability to start planning much earlier this year. CERS will be the first place where the data will populate as it becomes available after scoring. So let's get started with an overview of summative results. Before we take our deep dive into the CERS data, we'd like to provide an overview just to ensure that we all have the same language and understanding of the types of scores available and the reporting structure for each assessment we're covering today. So let's begin with Summative English Language Arts, or ELA and math. The overall score for Summative ELA and math includes an achievement level and a scale score. There are 4 achievement levels. Level 4, standard exceeded. Level 3, standard met. Level 2, standard nearly met. And level 1, standard not met. The scale scores and achievement levels gives us a sense of the student's overall performance in ELA and math. Scale score ranges for the summative ELA and math are organized by achievement level. You'll find a table with the ELA score ranges in your resource guide that Nikki has been placing into the chat. Unlike raw scores that allow only comparisons between students using the same test form, scale scores provide a common reference statewide, making interpretation easier. Please note that the scale score ranges are not the same for each grade level. Something new, exciting. Starting with the summative assessments administered in 23-24, we will once again have claim level data for students. These will be in the form of composite claims, and they will be available on the student score reports and in the CERS user interface. Composite claim information will not be on the individual student score reports in CERS until spring 2025. We are so excited for this new development, and it brings back claim information that a lot of us were missing. Claim level descriptors for English language arts and mathematics provide a more detailed look at the student's performance on the overall assessment using the following 3 indicators: below standard, near standard, and above standard. For ELA, the composite claims are reading and writing and listening and research. For math, the claims are concepts and procedures and mathematical practices. Next, let's look at the CAASPP. The overall score for the CAASPP includes an achievement level and scale score. There are 4 achievement levels. Level 4, standard exceeded. Level 3, standard met. Level 2, standard nearly met. And level 1, standard not met. The scale scores and achievement levels gives us a sense of the student's overall achievement in science. Scale score ranges for CAASPP are organized by grade and achievement level. You will find a table with the CAASPP scale score ranges in your resource guide. Unlike raw scores that allow only comparisons between students under the same test form, scale scores provide a common reference statewide, making interpretation easier, just like ELA and math. Please note that the scale score ranges are not the same for each grade level. More information about the achievement level descriptors can be found in a link in your resource guide. The California Science Test also includes domain level categories. There are 3 science domains: Earth and Space Sciences, Life Sciences, and Physical Sciences. For scoring and reporting, each of the 3 science domains constitutes 1/3 of the test. Items written to assess performance expectations associated with engineering, technology, and application of science will be assigned to one of the 3 science domains, depending upon the context of their stimulus. California's environmental principles and concepts will also be used as context for items as appropriate to the 3 science domains. There are 3 possible levels reported for the domains: below standard, near standard, which includes slightly below, at, or slightly above the standard, and above standard. Now let's talk about the California Alternate Assessments, or CAAs. The CAA results are used to determine how well students with the most significant cognitive disabilities are progressing towards proficiency in ELA, math, and science, and assist local educational agencies, or LEAs, and schools to identify and address gaps in knowledge or skills early so that students can receive the support that they need. CAA results include an overall scale score and one of 3 general performance levels, with level 3 reflecting the highest level of performance. Level 3, understanding. Students at this level demonstrate understanding of core subject matter in the content area. They are actively working with adapted grade level content that focuses on the essential skills and knowledge and may need occasional prompts and assistance to complete tasks and activities. Level 2, foundational understanding. Students at this level demonstrate foundational understanding of core subject matter in the content area when provided with frequent prompts and support. They're actively working with adaptive grade level content that focuses on the essential knowledge and skills and may frequently need supports to complete tasks and activities. And then we have level 1, limited understanding. Students at this level demonstrate limited understanding of adapted grade level content that focuses on much of the basic knowledge and skills, even with extensive supports. More information on the grade and content-specific performance level descriptors, you can find that in your resource guide. And with that, I am going to turn this over to Stephanie.
Thanks, Joe. Well, next up, we're going to give you an overview of CERS. Now, as you can see here on the screen, CERS is a one-stop shop for state assessment results that allows teachers and administrators to access detailed student performance information for summative CAASPP and ELPAC assessments, as well as all state-provided interim assessments. Now, CERS offers LEA staff the earliest access to the latest assessment data, as well as historical assessment data. And we know that current and prior year student test results, when combined with other student information such as grades, classroom assignments, teacher observations, and more, can help to guide instruction and improve student learning. Now, one benefit of CERS is that educators can view student summative results prior to the public release of assessment data, allowing them the ability to analyze student performance in a timely manner following assessments. Now, the public release of results in the Test Results for California's assessment website occurs in late fall, but as we know from a previous slide, we will get access to data in CERS much earlier depending on the assessment. Now, for summative assessments, CERS shows the grade level assessed, the average scale score for the group, whether that group is a grade level within a school, a roster group, or a custom group created by the educator. You'll also find the number of students in the results, the student score distribution by overall achievement level and by claim or domain. You'll find individual student results, overall or by composite claim for ELA and math, or by domain for science. You'll find individual student reports or ISRs and additional detailed information as mentioned earlier. All right, so we're going to be using the CERS Sandbox during our session today. Now, the CERS Sandbox is a great training tool that allows staff to get familiar with the features of CERS in a non-secure environment. Now, the Sandbox is great for individual exploration or for group training, and it has all the same functions as CERS. The CERS Sandbox is a public website, so you can feel free to share the URL with anyone interested in seeing what the data looks like in CERS. Now, the Sandbox mimics the reporting system using fictitious student information and simulated test results data. This way, the assessment items and the student information security is not an issue when using the Sandbox. Now, before we dive in, we do want to share two quick caveats about the CERS Sandbox. So first, please note that when you open the CERS Sandbox, you will be prompted to choose a role. Now, in the live CERS environment, the user will not select a role. So the benefit of the Sandbox is that you can enter as any role, which is helpful for site and LEA staff when assisting teachers or when giving training for CERS. Second, the purpose of the Sandbox is for training on CERS features that are available and not for analyzing data. So some of the assessment rules, like alternate assessments for all rule, do not apply here. So you may wind up seeing a student in the Sandbox with results from an alternate assessment and a general assessment. The assessment results may also be available for years when no tests were administered. All right, so with that, we're going to go ahead. We're going to do our first live demo of CERS. And again, just to reiterate, we are going to be using the CERS Sandbox. Now I'm going to go ahead and walk us through accessing the Sandbox, and then I'll go ahead and show a demo of some of the CERS features and how to access them. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start us off here at the CAASPP.org website. I'm going to select the California Educator Reporting System button right here. And again, we're going to be using the CERS Sandbox training tool for our demo today. And here is where I want to call your attention to where you will enter the Sandbox with a user role. So you'll see you have options to go ahead and select either a teacher for elementary, middle, or high, or a school administrator for elementary, middle, or high, and as a district administrator. So I'm going to go ahead and start us off for our first demo as a district admin. And right when I get into the Sandbox here, I want to call your attention to the banner at the top. There's lots of really great resources that are here. First off, I want to go ahead and show you the user guide, the interpretive guide, and the My Reports features. These are going to be incredibly handy for you. The user guide is going to explain all of those features that we're going to be looking at and the functions in CERS. And then you'll see there's also the interpretive guide, which is designed really to help educators and parents and other groups to interpret those assessment results. Now, you'll find those at the top, but you can also find them here along the right-hand panel as well. Now, when you're in here actually looking at this landing page here, there are these administrator tools that will appear, and keep in mind that certain user roles will have access to this. So your teacher user role will not be able to see this, but as an administrator, you can view custom aggregate report, you have the district and school exports, the student groups, and also the instructional resources button. And as I scroll down as an administrator, I can access assessment results by searching by student using the SSID number here, or I can search by school and grade level. I'm going to start us off by looking at a sample middle school, and I'm going to go ahead and select grade 7, and we'll go ahead and search. All right, so all of that information that I just entered in appears right here, the name of the middle school, the assessment grade, the school year, and then the advanced filters. So keep in mind also under school year, you'll see here you have the ability to change those years. We'll talk about these advanced filters in just a moment. And you'll see here where the selected assessments are. It's showing me the most recent assessment. If I want to go ahead and select a different assessment, I'm going to select the little plus icon here. And now I have the ability to select additional assessments. So I'm going to go ahead. We'll take a look at grade 7 ELA summative. And we'll scroll down and we're able to view here our group level summative data results. And I'll see here that I have 279 students that were tested, and I can view the student score distribution for standard exceeded, which is level 4. I see I have 30% of my students who scored at this achievement level, standard met level 3, 20% of students, standard nearly met, level 2, 13%, and standard not met, level 1, 37%. Now, at any time, if I want to go ahead and take a look at my data by number, I can go ahead and change the display value as to number. Super easy, click of a button. And now I can see the number of my students at each of those student score distribution levels. Also, I love this feature here, exporting as a CSV file. If you're interested in being able to use data in an Excel format or as a CSV, maybe you want to import the data into a different platform, or perhaps you want to maybe create pivot tables. Again, with the click of a button, you'll see that the download will appear right away. We won't open it right now, but just to show you, it happens so quickly for you to be able to view that data as a CSV. All right, so in also looking at our ELA summative data here, I want to show the results by student. So I'm going to select this button here under show results. And as I scroll down, I can see that my select a results view is showing me those results by student. The system is automatically showing my students alphabetical by last name, but all of these column headers give you the ability to sort the data. So here, if I wanted to maybe sort my data by achievement level, I can just go ahead and select the little arrow right here, and it allows me to group my students either by ascending or descending order. So I can look at maybe from level 1 all the way to level 4, or maybe I want to click the button again, and now it'll group my students by level 4 all the way through level 1. And this makes it really easy to be able to capture that data, use it for making instructional decisions for the upcoming school year. All right, now I want to call your attention back up to the top again. I mentioned it earlier, but I want to go ahead and give you a preview of the advanced filters. Love, love, love this. Using the advanced filters feature will allow you to look at demographic data and other reporting groups. So maybe perhaps I want to just take a look at my grade 7 ELA summative data. Maybe I want to look at this by my students who were reclassified fluent English proficient. Well, I can go ahead and select that button there. And as I scroll down, I can see that I've got now 9 student results, okay? And it's showing me again how those students scored by each of those different score distributions. So at any time, if you want to take a closer look at your data by demographic or by reporting group, you are able to do that as well. All right, so coming back to this, that's lots of great information. I know you probably already want to get in there and start playing around with it, but give me just a moment. We will give you some time in just a little bit. For now, though, we're going to go ahead. We're going to next take a deeper dive, but this time we're going to look at the overall scores by the claim and domain levels, and also we're going to take a look at those target level pieces of data. So back to the sandbox. Here's where we are. I'm going to this time, I want to show you by a teacher role. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and log out. And this time, I'm going to select the user role for a teacher. I'm going to select a sample elementary school here. We will enter the sandbox again. We'll look at the data a little bit differently here. Already noticed that those administrator tools are not here, right? So teachers have the ability to search by student still, by SSID number here, and also by their assigned groups. So we will take a look at grade 5. And again, I've got grade 5, it shows me the year, and I still have access to those advanced filters. And here's the most recent assessment. It's showing me grade 5, California Science Test, Summative, CAASPP Summative. I also want to go ahead and select language arts. Let me find that one here. Grade 5, ELA Summative. And here's grade 5, Math Summative. Okay, all right. So here I can view those results for the California Science Test. I can see that I have 59 students that I'm looking at. Again, I can view this group level data, so to see how my students scored at each of the different levels. Again, I still can change my display value as by number if I wanted to view it that way. And also teachers still have the ability to export their data here as well. But aside from just looking at our group level data, we are able to look at domain level data. And this is what that domain level data will look like when we're looking at the student results by domain level distribution. So here I can see how students did in life sciences, in physical sciences, and also earth and space sciences. Again, looking at how students performed below standard, near standard, and above standard. And once again, I can go ahead and sort these columns. So maybe I wanted to just look at how my students performed on life sciences, and I want to sort my students maybe by below standard all the way through above standard. Again, this is going to allow the teacher to be able to make some instructional decisions for the upcoming school year. I could do the same thing with physical sciences and earth and space sciences. So we love the fact that with the CAS data, we can view much more granular data by domain. Let's take a look next at the grade 5 ELA summative data. Here I can see I've got 64 students. Again, here is my group level data. But as we mentioned earlier, coming back this year, we're so excited, are those composite claim results. So with the click of a button, you'll be able to see that. Now keep in mind, the CERS sandbox is not showing the claim level data just yet. In the live CERS environment, you'll find it. We are going to be updating the sandbox so that you'll be able to view that claim level data and what it'll look like here. But don't worry, we've got a sneak preview for you right here. This is what that composite claim score distribution is going to look like. So this is showing you for grade 11 language arts. We can see the student composite claim score distribution again over here, reading and listening, and over here by writing and research. Again, you'll see the score distribution below standard, near standard, and above standard. And you'll have the ability to sort those column headers, which is going to be so key for you. So we're excited that's coming back. Additional data, yes, for ELA, we mentioned were those target level reports. Right over here, if I change my select a results view to target report right here, I'm now able to view target report data for groups of 30 or more students. And I can see those claims right here, the target level information, and I can see how students performed relative to the entire test on that particular target, or how students performed relative to standard met, which is level 3. Now, if you're wondering, what does this information mean here about performance relative to the entire test? Well, there's a little eye icon right here. It's an information icon. And if you select it, you'll see a pop-up that will give you some additional information about what that actually means. Same thing over here with performance relative to standard met. So we love the fact that this results view is available. It's going to give you much more granular data that you can use for the upcoming year to make some decisions. Now, there are additional results view here for language arts, and I know that Alicia's going to get into that in just a little bit. So we will take a look at some math results in the meantime. Again, here is our group level distribution for our students. And over here is that claim, right? That composite claim results. Let me show you a sneak peek of what that's going to look like. For mathematics, you will see student composite claim score distribution, concepts and procedures, and also for mathematical practices. Again, that same information with how the student score distribution is going to show those results as well. And for math, we can see the results view by target report as well. And this is going to show for claim 1, concepts and procedures. Again, we have our targets that are listed, how students performed relative to the entire test, and how students performed relative to standard met. So lots of really great information. I want to show you just a couple more items, and then we're going to give you some time. And that is, excuse me, I'm going to select an alternate assessment. So for the California alternate assessment for ELA grade 5 summative, and I have the California alternate assessment for math and California alternate assessment for science, because this is grade 5. And as I scroll down, here is my group level results for the CAA for ELA grade 5 summative, 62 students, and the student score distribution for level 3, understanding, level 2, foundational, or level 1, limited. And one final piece I promise I want to show you, but you also have the ability to take a look at individual student reports. So maybe I wanted to take a look at Samantha Adams here. If I want to be able to go ahead and look at Samantha's summative report, I can go ahead and select a student name, select print, and I can create a report. This is going to take me to that reports tab feature, and you'll see Samantha's name is here. The status shows pending. It's one student. It shouldn't take too long to be able to generate that right here. And you will then be able to download that report. And if you're wondering if you're able to do this in bulk, the answer is yes. And a little bit later, Alicia's going to show you that as well. But you'll see here, it's already completed. If I wanted to take a little bit more detailed look at the individual report, I can download the report, save it, view the report query right here. Oh my gosh, so much great information in here for you to take a look at, which is why now it's going to be your turn. You're going to have about 7 minutes or so here to access the CERS sandbox. So the instructions and a link to the sandbox are in your resource guide, and the instructions are available for all CERS sandbox roles. So select the role in the sandbox that's going to be closest to your own role. Now, if you have any questions during this time, please continue to enter them into the Q&A box. Now, you can do one or all of the following tasks. It's completely your choice. You can search for CAASPP for science results by domain. You can search ELA or math results by claim or by target. And you can download an ISR report for maybe one or more of your students. Now, a couple reminders. Remember, again, certain roles will not have access to certain features. Again, remember, it's a sandbox, so that means that the data is going to be different when you log into the live CERS environment. This data here that you're going to be looking at is fictitious. It's not meant for analysis. Now, because fictitious data and students are used in the sandbox, there will be students that you may find who have taken the CAASPP and also the CAA for science, as well as at various maybe incorrect grade levels. So the focus of the sandbox really is to explore and get familiar with those CERS features. But most importantly, since you're using a sandbox, we want you to have fun, click away, you won't be able to break anything. All right, so we will go ahead and we'll give you about 7 minutes or so to get in there and to explore. And then we'll come back together. All right, we're going to go ahead and come back together, and we hope you all were able to explore the system and perform a few of those tasks there, and perhaps maybe you even found out some new discoveries about CERS. All right, so we do have a couple of questions for us to consider. And the first is, how might I use domain level data to support planning my next steps? And also, who in my organization will need access to this data?
I think we have a couple quick questions we want to answer.
Oh, yes, you're right. Let's do questions. I forgot. Let's do questions. Thanks, Nikki.
Yeah, of course. There's just two common questions we're going to address really quick before we get to the big Q&A section at the end. The first one is, can we reiterate, when will that claim level data for ELA and math be available again?
I can take that question, Nikki. So claim level data for ELA and math is available for groups of students of 30 or more, and it's available on the public reporting site, which is called the Test Results for California Assessments. And so that will be available in the fall. And so that's for groups of 30 or more. Now, composite claim level data, which we've talked about today, is available in the live CERS environment when you access ELA and math scores. And this information is not yet in the CERS sandbox, but it will be soon, hopefully. But in the live environment, you'll be able to access those composite claim scores. Now, note that in the live CERS environment, you can find this on the composite tab. While the claims tab is still available to select, you're not going to have any data available there. So just to keep that in mind.
Thank you. And then the second question, we've been receiving a lot of questions about different CERS features, reports or interim assessment data and those sorts of things. So where can our attendees find information about those topics?
Nikki, I can take that question. This is a really great question. I know that there's a lot of differences between what assessment data and reports are available for interim assessments versus summative assessments. And today's session is focused again on summative assessment results and accessing those in CERS. So our trainers have been kind of going through some of those live demos with you. However, as Joe shared on our kind of earlier slides, we have recordings from both the introduction to CERS and there's a CERS Beyond the Basics training series that's available if you want to dig into other areas of CERS or look to see what's available for specifically those interim assessments that your teachers might be using. So these are broken out by user role with an option for teachers and an option for coordinators and administrators as well. We also want to put in a shameless plug for the upcoming Introduction to CERS trainings that will happen this summer and fall, and they will be recorded as a series of micro learning style videos. So keep your eyes out for that. We are super excited about sharing those with you.
All right, thank you. Alicia, take it away.
All righty. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy to be here with you at 4:22 on this beautiful Thursday. So the next area we want to cover are Lexile and quantile measures. Lexile measures are generated from the Smarter Balanced Summative Assessment for ELA. Based on how students perform, they indicate the difficulty of materials students can read and understand. The great part is Lexile measures can be connected with leveled materials from libraries, your classroom libraries, even to provide the right reading materials for your students. Lexile scores can be found in CERS, and there's also an option to have separate student score reports. The Lexile and Quantile Hub is a great page for teachers to access for resources connected to Lexile measures. Quantile measures are generated from the Smarter Balanced Summative Assessment for mathematics. Based on how students perform, they indicate what mathematical skill a student has mastered. They will also show what skills students need additional instruction to be able to move towards mastery. Quantile scores can be found in CERS. Once again, that Lexile and Quantile Hub is a great page for teachers to access those resources and get some connections to quantiles. All right, up next, I get very excited about this. I know Jeff does too. Let's take a deeper look at those writing extended response scores in CERS. And before we get into the data, let's just take a step back and talk about where the writing extended response, or WERs, originate. The WER is also known as the full write or essay question. It is item number 2 on the ELA performance task, otherwise known as the PT. Students will receive a prompt with one of the following task types. Grades 3 through 5 receive either narrative, opinion, or informational. 6 through 8 receive either narrative, argumentative, or explanatory. And grades 9 through 11 can receive argumentative or explanatory. Once the students have submitted their writing extended response, they are scored. The writing trait scores are based on a rubric with 3 traits: organization purpose, evidence elaboration, and conventions. And if you haven't had a chance yet to visit the Smarter Annotated Response tool, we highly recommend it. It's a site that provides users with a better understanding of how student writing is scored. It has rubrics, rationales, exemplars, and opportunities to even practice scoring. The link to this website is in your resource guide. So condition codes. If a student earns a 0 on the writing trait scores within a component, a corresponding condition code will be assigned. If a student had no response, they will receive a B for blank. If a student did not provide a meaningful response, they will receive an I for insufficient. If a student response is in a language other than English, they will receive an L. If a student provides a response that is unrelated to the task or source, they will receive a T for off topic. And if a student has clearly not written to the purpose designated in the task, they will receive an M for off purpose. Additional information about these codes can be found at the link in your resource guide. All right, so now that we have some background on those additional features in CERS, let's take a look at how to access them in the system. So we're going to now go into the next live demo where I will show you where these features live. I'm going to walk us through how we are able to find those results with the various number of dropdowns. Okay, so I'm going to navigate on over into our sandbox once more. I'm going to give my dad some love and our middle school teachers in the room and choose that sample middle school teacher role. Once I'm in, I'm going to select my 8th grade student group here. Selecting assessments, I'm going to go ahead and uncheck the ELPAC, and I'm going to choose, oops, didn't quite click it, the Math Summative. And so just like Stephanie showed us earlier, we have, our overall student score distribution, that scale score error band for the class as a whole, and that result by student view. But in the drop down, here's where you're able to locate that quantile report for mathematics. I have my individual students here, and then over on the right, I have the quantile measure and then their quantile range. We're able to sort and use the features in CERS to help do some analysis. And then with the click of a button, there is the ability to export. So when we think of how to analyze and give feedback not only to our students, since we have this information so early, but what a great way to analyze over the summer, leading into the next school year. And with that click of the button is what this beautiful Excel spreadsheet looks like for your individual students. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and navigate back on over, and I would like to show you next the ELA Summative Assessments Report features. So I'm gonna uncheck my math here. And so scrolling down, I still have that overall view. Here's my results by student view, but here is where you're able to look at the writing trait scores. So scrolling down, you're able to see here, this is an 8th grade group, and the different genres of argumentative, explanatory, informational, narrative, and opinion. And over on the left, you'll notice the categories: evidence elaboration, organization purpose, and conventions. And so on the left, we have the average of how students as a whole for opinion were able to score for each of those categories. And then the distribution on the right of how the students did. And then again, with the click of a button, you're able to export those scores to be able to analyze. So as some of you mentioned, discussions with teachers going into summer school and even planning to inform your instructional practices in the next school year, what an amazing way to have a conversation around how students were able to do with the different genres that they were assigned, how they were able to do with the different categories. And again, my friend named Joe, he likes what we call this low-hanging fruit. And if our students were having difficulty across the board in my grade level with conventions, what a great focus at the start of the year in receiving this feedback for planning. So super valuable, these tools right now at our fingertips in CERS. All right, so I do want to show you one last report, and that's that Lexile report in the drop down here. So again, I have my individual students, and I'm able to see that Lexile measure for each student and the range, sorting out those features. One thing I just love about CERS is this eye icon here. Click it at any time in the system to give you more information about what it means. And so right here at the click of our fingertips is that resource to get us to those tools, maybe those Lexile grade level charts that you might need to know exactly where a student falls with this Lexile range, and then informing our practices over the course of that next school year. And one thing that our lovely Stephanie shared with you is the ability to download an individual student report. So clicking here, clicking Stacy's summative report, you can generate that report by clicking create report, and it's going to give you that individual student report, or what we know as an ISR. I went ahead and I downloaded one earlier just in case, but just depending upon the size of the file, the smaller, the quicker it is. But over here, I have an example of a different student's ELA summative assessment. So you have that scale score here and where they were with that error range, where they fell with the distribution. But scrolling down is the beautiful writing extended response. So for this student, she was assigned opinion as an 8th grade student. You'll see these categories here: evidence elaboration, organization purpose, and conventions. And then over to the right, we see where she scored with each of those categories. I did call out the condition codes. And so I did go ahead and download one to show you as another example, so you can see exactly what that might look like. So this is a 3rd grade student, and this student was given the purpose of a narrative. And so you will see that he earned a 0 on each of the categories, and he received the condition code of an I, which is insufficient. So we have our students, most of us in the classroom still. How valuable would it be to have a conversation in the moment with your student about how they were able to do, to give them feedback, pull up that scale score to show them just how close they were, to give them that immediate feedback. And then I know that Stephanie mentioned it, so I do want to show you, last but not least, how to download these in bulk. So when we think of planning for summer school, planning into the next school year, having those conversations with your teams, and you'll want to be able to download and see how students did as a whole. So I'm just going to go back in to my 8th grade group here, and you'll notice once you're in your student group, the printable report option here. So clicking there, you can choose which assessment type. So I do want that summative ELA assessment. And then remember, there's some interim options here too. So we mentioned the asynchronous learning opportunities. You can see those generated, but I just want to show you the ability to create that report. So here's my middle school group. It's pending, and once it would be complete, Just like I did with my other student, you would download that report data and you have all of your students at once to be able to analyze those writing extended response options. So very exciting. I get very excited about all of it. It's now available to us. All right, so now it is your turn. You will have 6 minutes to access the sandbox, or you could go into your own live environment if you'd like. The instructions and the link to the sandbox are in your resource guide. If you have any questions during this time, please just enter them into the Q&A box. And you may do one or all of the following tasks. It's up to you. You can view those Lexi or Quantile reports, access those writing trait scores through the results view, or download an individual ISR to view those scores and condition codes. And just a couple of reminders, certain roles don't have access to certain features. The instructions for accessing the sandbox as a teacher and an administrator are both in your resource guide. And this sandbox, like Stephanie mentioned, it's a little different than your live environment. The data is fictitious and it's only meant for analysis and exploration. And most importantly, have a good time. You can't break the system. Enjoy. All right, so I'm going to invite you back. We hope you were able to explore the system and perform maybe a few new tasks. All right, so now that we've had the opportunity to explore CERS and have an understanding of the data that's available, we'd like you to consider a couple of reflection questions. Please take a moment to consider the following questions. What might we do with this information? How might we share with students and families? How might we use CERS data or Lexi and Quantile data to prepare for incoming students, either in summer school or the following school year?
All right, well, we do have one last topic before we wrap up. Now, as we do talk about each resource, you'll notice that the links are in your resource guide. And this way you have easy access to all of these great resources in one place. All right, so we want to move on to some CERS resources. Now, we've already mentioned the CERS user guide, but we do want to make sure to call your attention to it again. We also covered the CERS sandbox, which is an excellent tool. And there are also a few quick reference guides which walk you step by step on various CERS functions, such as how to view results by school, how to view individual student results, and how to view those writing trait scores. There are also some great videos available to support use of CERS. So the links to both of these videos are in your resource guide, and they are the Understanding the California Educator Reporting System video and the Creating Groups in the California Educator Reporting Systems video. And lastly, we want to mention the CERS resource webpage, which includes lots of information and additional resources such as a link to the CERS to SIS integration page and the videos that we previously mentioned. Now, we do also want to call your attention to an awesome resource for educators, the interim assessments. Now, interim assessments are available for ELPAC, CAASPP, or the California Science Test, ELA, and math. The state-provided interim assessments are free resources which can inform and support teaching and learning in multiple ways. Their intended purpose is to evaluate student knowledge and skills during the year. Interim assessments can be used flexibly as both assessments for learning and of learning. This means that interim assessments can be administered in a standardized manner as a formal individual assessment or in a non-standardized manner. The interim assessments also offer the full range of CAASPP accessibility resources so that students are able to show what they know and can do using the same resources that they're familiar with in everyday classroom instruction and assessment. Now, we mentioned this in the CERS training because CERS is where all interim assessment results are housed. If you want to learn more about the interim assessment results in CERS, you should register for the Introduction to CERS trainings that happen during the summer and fall. Now, the link to register is in your note-taking guide. Next up are the practice and training tests, which are a great resource to help classroom teachers better understand the expectations of each task type within each domain area. These are available on both the CAASPP and ELPAC websites. Practice and training tests can be used by teachers, by students, and families without the need for secure login credentials. Video and document resources are available to assist with the use of the practice and training tests for teachers and families. And again, you'll find the link in your resource guide. Now, a great resource to help classroom teachers better understand the formative assessment tools available online is the Tools for Teachers and Other Formative Assessment online tools. Formative assessment supports teaching and learning in flexible ways. Now, this document describes online tools available from the California Department of Education to help educators gauge their students' learning and determine next steps for instruction. Now, all of the tools listed support English Language Arts Literacy, ELA, and mathematics, and select tools will support science as noted. Educators can use this document to help determine which tool best fit the instructional needs of their students. Again, a link in your resource guide will provide you quick access to tools that support the formative assessment process.
All right, now that we've had an opportunity to explore the system and have an understanding of the basic navigation and features that exist in CERS, we want to pause for questions that may have surfaced for you. So please put your questions into the Q&A box and we'll do our best to answer them right now. And with that, what do we have, Nikki?
We've got 3 that I want to make sure we cover. Okay, the first one is about those target reports or target scores that you guys showed us earlier. And can you access those target scores as an LEA coordinator?
Yeah, great question. So as an LEA coordinator, you can access target reports through the custom aggregate tab inside of CERS. So it's a little different than for us LEA coordinators to access those target reports. Once again, it's through that button, through the custom aggregate reports in CERS. And you know what? So it looked like there was also a question that was very similar as well in terms of being able to see district-wide results. And that's also going to live in that same button as well. There was a question about, can we see district-wide results by grade level? And yes, you can. They also live in that, behind that same button. District, oh my gosh, why did it just leave my mind right now? They live in the custom aggregate reports, excuse me. So they both live back there.
Yeah, so that one, I'm just going to add on to that a little bit. That one, the target report one, is a little different. Teachers, or I guess any administrator who has groups assigned, can access it through a group. Administrators can access it through the custom aggregate reports, specifically that target report button, but you can't get to target reports if you search by school and grade. You have to go around one of those other 2 ways. All right, does the role of district educator allow the user to see district-wide results by grade level in CERS?
Yes. Once again, through custom aggregate report. So through custom aggregate report, you can go over and view the data, all the schools combined, by grade level, essentially. Yes.
And then the last one is, as an LEA CAASPP coordinator, or I guess an LEA level coordinator, can I drill down to that teacher level?
You can, if, big if, right? If you include your, essentially your email address in the rostering process. So you're connected to the groups as well.
Excellent. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up.
We want to actually have a little shameless plug. More trainings are coming up. So we want to call out that the registration has just opened up for the 24-25 Introduction to CERS trainings. There will be 2 different trainings. The Introduction to CERS for teachers and the Introduction to CERS for test coordinators and maybe district or site administrators. These trainings will be the same as the sessions from the prior year. Sessions for both will be available in the summer and in the fall. The dates and times for the sessions, as well as the links to register, are in your resource guide. If you attended last year, Please pass this information along to others at your site or district to help spread the word. Sorry, my lights just went out right here. There you go. Sorry, you've probably seen me make funny little gestures here. So sharing's caring though. Please share this out with as many people as you can, because the more capacity that can be built, the more people are able to access the system. And with that, we've come to the official end of our training. We appreciate the questions you've asked, and we hope that you found the session and the opportunity to get hands-on in the system informative and helpful. We also hope that you feel more confident to begin CERS use in your LEA. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Your success agents are standing by to assist LEA coordinators as needed, and there are many resources in the Get Help section of the CAASPP and ELPAC websites. So, on behalf of the California Department of Education, the Sacramento County Office of Education, and your training team, we thank you for spending your time with us today. Have a great afternoon, everybody.